Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Paul Chamberlain, the Air Force guy here with Everything RVs podcast. Now, I'm in a kind of a makeup studio here. I'm doing some traveling up here for some Airstream training in Columbus, Ohio. But I hope everybody can hear me okay. So today's podcast is a podcast for me to answer questions from you, the viewers. Because my job with this podcast is to help you campers go on out and enjoy camping more so that you can make memories that last a lifetime. So, like I say, feel free over time, if you'd like, I have an email down below. Feel free to shoot me an email if you have a question. I'll be doing probably a YouTube type live once a month also. So that way there we can interact a little more, because I know a lot of times when I answer these questions, then they tend to be another question that comes up from that particular question that you first asked. So if for some reason you feel as though I didn't answer your question properly, maybe you had maybe you have another question come up, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to answer that for you. So without further ado, let me get on to the questions we have. The first one we have from Darcy. They wanted to know, after each trip, they'll dump 3 to 5 gallons of water with chemicals back in the tanks, both black and gray. And they want to know, during winterization, should they dump those tanks, is there an issue that might freeze? I'm just going to give you my professional opinion and what we do as a dealership, or what we have done in the past as a dealership. There is a chance that that water could freeze there at the valves where you're actually dumping it, and that could cause an issue there. Our recommendation would be, or my recommendation would be, to, prior to dumping, so on your last camping trip, dump the tanks, make sure that they're empty all the way, clean out that black tank the best you can, make sure that thing is spotless, and you'll be much happier the next season. For the black tank, I highly recommend that you use a swivel stick, because those black tank rinses do not do the job. Don't take my word for it. Get a swivel stick and you'll see what I'm talking about. If you want to check my YouTube channel for the clogged RV toilet video, you will see that the black tank rinse did nothing for that clogged toilet. So hopefully that helps, because what's going to happen is when you winterize your camper, you're going to be putting enough through all the different, through your toilet, through your sinks and so forth, the shower. You'll get enough antifreeze to go down there and sit up against those valves. So that way there, you have less chance of having an issue there. You don't have to dump a lot, just have enough to cover it. Next question I have from Levon. And by the way, I hope I pronounce your names correctly here. They're buying a 2025 Sequoia. It's an SUV hybrid with a tow rating of 9,500 pounds. Which travel trailer would I recommend? You know, the problem with towing is this: so many people focus on the tow rating and not the other factors with that. With this being an SUV, obviously the wheelbase of that SUV is a little shorter than it would be, could be, not always the case, but on a half-ton and definitely on a 3/4-ton truck. I see some half-ton trucks out there that have a 12, 13, 14,000 pound tow rating. So don't go by just your tow rating. The other thing you have to take into consideration is the payload of your vehicle. Now, payload, that is on a sticker. It's your tire sticker inside your driver's door. It's white, yellow, and red. Take a look at that, because the payload is your tongue weight. And by the way, tongue weights on trailers Do not go by what they say on the brochure or online. I've seen them vary upwards of, could be 100 pounds. It could be 300-400 pounds. You have to take into consideration on the low end, just adding your propane and a battery. But then on top of that, you've got to consider how much cargo you're going to be putting in the camper. So number one, the tongue weight goes against your payload, and then any people, cargo, or pets that you're putting in your vehicle as well. Case in point, I had a gentleman had 1,300, and I think it was, no, I'm sorry, 1,569 pounds of payload. They wanted to tow a camper that had, by the time they loaded and everything, it probably would have exceeded 1,400 pounds, maybe even 1,500 pounds. So that would have left them anywhere between 69 to 169 pounds of people, cargo, and pets that they'd be putting in their vehicle. So obviously they'd be way overloaded. Now, so that's one thing you need to take into consideration. The other thing is, for this particular vehicle, I would not recommend anything over 30, 32 foot in length, because again, the longer you get, then it's the tail wagging the dog. So keep that in mind. The last thing you want to do is go on out there and buy something that you can't handle, and then you're doing one of two things. One, you're getting another new vehicle, or two, you're getting out of that trailer and buying something that's going to work better for you. And I've seen that happen. I watched a dealership sell a 38-foot travel trailer to somebody that had a Ford F-150 that could tow 14,000 pounds. That was way too long of a camper. And because of the fact that the salesperson was not willing to have that discussion with the customer beforehand and explain that to him, the customer called after they towed it home and said that he couldn't tow it. Now, unfortunately, that RV dealership did nothing for that customer. And that is the problem you run into. Once you take that off the lot, the majority of them are they're washing their hands of it. They're like, okay, sorry, that's something you should have decided before you purchase it. So be very careful out there. Buy from somebody they're not in it for just the sale. They're in it for the family, making sure that you're safe as well as everybody else on the streets out there. So great question. Next question is from Steve. He has a weak flame on his water heater. He says his regulator's okay because there's no blockage, and also the gas furnace is working, and the stovetop's working. Well, I can tell you, sometimes you've got to get yourself an air compressor and just blow out that outside area where that flame is coming through, because you will notice there's a lot of rust and things coming out of there. There could be a spider web. There could be, depending on the season, there could be a mud dauber creating an issue there. So it may be just a matter of blockage from that standpoint. But do let me know if that does work. Next, Angela, she has two questions. One, how often do you get your roof resealed? And two, is there an regular AC maintenance you're due annually? But let's talk about the first one first. How often do you get your roof resealed? Well, the real answer is this. If you look at your owner's manual, in the owner's manual, for the majority of these manufacturers, they'll have it set in stone there. You're supposed to inspect and reseal as needed every 90 days. And it's not just your roof. It's the sidewall, the front cap, the rear cap. It's anywhere there was a hole, window, anything put in. You're checking the sealants to see if they're cracking, peeling, bubbling, peeling back, whatever the case may be. Now, chances are most people aren't going to do that, which is okay. Realistically, you could get by with doing it twice a year. And depending on where you live, I know I was from Maryland for the longest time, and people put their campers away in the winter and they take it back out in the spring. Those are the perfect time to be inspecting everything on your camper. And if you would do that, you have a better chance of not having any issues. And let me tell you, there are people out there that think because they've got, they've got a 10-year warranty or 12 or 15-year warranty on the roof, that they don't need to do anything. So be careful out there and read your owner's manual and try to do, the more you can do, the more you can document, the better off you're going to be. Second thing, question was regular AC maintenance. And it's really going to come down to how often you're using it. But I would recommend, again, with that, if you were to, I would say, look at it about every month to make sure that it is not getting all clogged up. There's a couple of different places you're looking. One is the filters on the inside. That's part of the maintenance you're going to be doing. The other is you have the on the outside, you have to take off the cover, and the outside coils, you need to make sure that those are cleaned off. And they have a special foaming spray that you spray on there. Make sure the AC is off when you're doing this, by the way. And then on the top of the cap, it has a brush. All you do is spray that foam on there, and then just take that brush and you want to scrape it up and down. And what that do is that'll realign your the coils to make sure that they're not getting pressed in or anything of that nature. And then just hose it off with some water. So hopefully that helps there. Next, I have Laura. Laura is asking, she's shopping for a new carbon monoxide detector, and she sees prices anywhere from $15 to $85. What should she do? Number one, the most important thing with an RV, do not buy a residential carbon monoxide detector. They are not meant for the temperature changes and the season changes in your camper. Now, with that being said, if you're living in your camper throughout the year and you're leaving it pretty much constant one temperature, well, then chances are you could get away with something like that, but not something I would recommend. So hopefully that helps you there. Next, we have Ochi asking, apologizing because being a newbie. So they have a portable fire pit. There's a propane connection on the outside of their camper, and they purchased a separate 20-pound tank to operate that portable fire pit. Is that something that can be operated by using that outside connection, or do they need the 20-pound tank? Typically, if you're going to be connecting it directly to a tank, that means it's a high pressure fire pit, meaning that you would not be able to hook that to the camper, because the camper connection, that is a low pressure connection. Coming off of your tanks, there's going to be a restrictor or regulator, which is going to regulate the pressure and bring it down. So typically that would not work. So yes, you would have to bring a separate 20-pound tank with you to make sure that you can operate that fire pit. Next, do I turn on the RV when you're the RV propane when they're on full hookups? Because they have hot water, they have the stove, you're also going to have a furnace. And yes, you would be turning that on. And that is something that, in the event that you had an RV refrigerator, and this will answer your other question that you have about getting your refrigerator cold. If you have the RV style refrigerator, that means it's electric and propane. Typically what you're doing prior to going camping, and I'd say if it's the RV fridge, you want to cool that down. And I'm going to use hypothetical. Let's say you're leaving on Friday. Wednesday, you hook it up at the house. You can hook into regular 110 outlet on the outside by paring it down. Do not run your air conditioner. Do not run the electric side of the water heater. Do not run the microwave when you do that. There is not enough power on that 110, 15 amp or 20 amp outlet. So you can plug it in there, turn on your refrigerator and set it. You can set it for the coldest, and then you can always back it down. With an RV fridge, it takes a good 12 to 24 hours for it to cool down. So on Wednesday, you plug it in, turn it on. Thursday, you put things that are already cold in the refrigerator and things that are frozen in the freezer. That way, when you get ready to leave on Friday, it's automatically going to switch over. If you have it in the auto mode, it's going to automatically switch over to the LP side. Now, what you're going to do is get yourself all hooked up, get yourself disconnected, and prior to disconnecting, what I would tell you to do is light the burners on your cooktop. The reason why I tell you to light the burners on your cooktop is because you want to make sure that the LP is bled through the system and is actually coming through there, and then shut it off. Now you go out and you'll unplug your RV, put the cords away, come back in and verify that it's switched over. You'll see a green light on your refrigerator. If it's blinking and it's a red light, you know it did not switch over. So at that point, shut it off, turn it back on, and wait a few minutes. You'll hear a click after about, I would say, wait about a minute or two and see if you get a green light. If you do, then you're good and you can drive down the road. I know there's people out there telling you you can't drive down the road with these with it on, and yes, you can. Now, for those of you that are concerned about that, what I would tell you to do is, if you haven't opened it since Thursday, Thursday you put all your stuff in there and closed it and left it on, you're okay. If you're only going to be going a couple hours, I would say 1 to 2 hours away from your house, you're okay to just shut it off and you'll be fine. When you get to the campground, plug it in, plug your camper in, and then turn it back on and you'll be fine. So now back to your full hookups when you get to the campground. When you get to the campground, if you did that where you bled the lines and you're running the refrigerator going down the road, then your LP's already open and you're ready for use. Now let's get back to the refrigerator issue. In the event that you have one of these new 12-volt refrigerators, the cool thing with that refrigerator will cool down within, I would say, 2 to 4 hours. So you don't need as much time to cool them down. Something you could, for some people, they could do, if some of you people actually leave it in storage and you can't turn it on prior to picking it up, that's not a problem. When you get to the campground or get to the storage to pick it up, plug it into your truck is running, turn your battery disconnect. Truck is going to be charging your battery for the RV, and now it's going to start cooling. Within 2-3 hours, 4 hours, your refrigerator is going to be cold. So if you're going to go home, plug it in at the house until you get it loaded and so forth, or maybe you're just going to go home, grab the. If you already have things that are frozen, you could probably already throw that in the freezer. That'll help cool things down. So hopefully that helps you out there. So let's see what other question. Okay, campsite full hookups only 1 hour away. So answer that question. Talking about driving with empty water tanks, which is great. So they're going to hook up their water to the city water. Now, here's the thing. When you're at a campground with full hookups, you're using city water. Now, for those of you that may want to put some water in your freshwater tank in the event that there's a power outage and the campground runs out of water because the power goes out, well, you have a 12-volt pump. You could always fill your freshwater tank and just dump it when you're ready to leave, if that helps. Do not leave your gray water tank open, the valve open, while you're camping. Especially don't ever leave the black tank one, and I'll go over that in a minute. But by leaving your gray tank valve open, and I know there's people out there that tell you they do it, and they'll go ahead and show you where they put like a little P-trap in their sewer hose on the outside. But I'm going to tell you what's happening is a couple things. One, your tank is going to dry out, and that's going to create issues. The seal for your gray tank is also going to be drying out, because keep in mind that even though you have that P-trap there, understand that you have the tank is also vented to the roof. So it will have airflow coming in there every time you turn the sink on. You're getting some air through there. The other thing is, if you didn't have that P-trap on the outside, and you just had the hose run going to the sewer, there's a chance you could go ahead and get sewer flies up into your tank. And trust me, that'll create a whole nother issue. as well. On the black tank, never leave that thing open. You want to make sure that you have water in that tank, chemical in that tank, and you could also put chemical in your gray tank, which will help keeping those sensors cleaned and so forth. For those of you that may have issues with the sensors in your tanks, highly recommend that you look at one of those tank cleaning services. I know it's about $250, $300 to have them cleaned, but I tell you what, they're well worth it. I just had a customer, we sold a camper that had an issue, and I'll tell you, you would not believe the amount of stuff that was coming out of both the tanks. So trust me, that is something I highly recommend you do. You will be glad you did it. I mean, it took them about 4 hours to clean 3 tanks. So hopefully that answers all your questions. And by all means, feel free to go ahead and shoot me an email, post a comment down below. If you have other questions, be more than happy to try to answer them. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you're liking the information that I'm putting out here. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share it out there. I appreciate it.